In a world far ahead in time, we meet Catherine Mills, a part human, part machine, working at the Harbinger Corporation. She's in the factory when a sudden message beams into her mind, a video showing an anomaly with a robot named SAR at the Harbinger Eye training facility. She tells her boss about this, mentioning a staggering reprogramming count of 1.5 million in just under a day, something totally unheard of. Her boss praises her for this discovery. Next, we're at a military base where Captain Damian Bukes asks one of his men, Drifter, for an update. Drifter tells him they've been ordered for yet another training exercise, and the weather's pretty awful. Bukes isn't pleased. Spotting Mills nearby, he goes to the person in charge of deployments to ask what's happening. He's informed that they've been training frequently because they need experienced fighters, but there aren't many left with combat experience. Bukes, having no other choice, reluctantly accepts his orders. Before leaving, he's informed that Mills, a tech from Harbinger, has been assigned to accompany them. As they head outside, Mills approaches Bukes to introduce herself, mentioning her role in observing the field's hardware as a representative of Harbinger. Bukes, skeptical, assumes she's trying to find cost-saving measures. However, Mills clarifies that her company is a vendor for the military, not the military itself. Bukes interrupts her, urging her to keep pace and insinuates she's scanning them, asking her to turn off her eye scanner. She explains it doesn't turn off, which prompts Bukes to emphasize keeping up and requests her not to scan him. Once aboard the plane, Mills meets Bukes' entire unit, comprised of Drifter, Sergeant Rory Robinson, Corporal Robert Cutbill, Lance Corporal Martin Goodwin, Corporal Daniela Hackett, and Corporal Sam Loftus. During the flight, the crew engages in various activities. Some nap, others work on crosswords. Mills, eager to understand them, scans and overhears their banter, revealing a tight-knit friendship among them. Learning that Bukes has a record of 18 kills and that Robinson has eye implants, Mills absorbs this information. A tense moment arises when Robinson aims his rifle at Mills, claiming he sees her. Unfazed, Mills disarms the weapon with a simple glance, demonstrating her ability to manipulate machines effortlessly. She casually mentions being able to remotely fire it while he inspects the chamber. As they approach the destination, Bukes briefs the team, emphasizing live ammo and constant monitoring. To Mills's surprise, she realizes she can no longer access the global network and is forced to switch to a local one. Robinson comments to Bukes about Mills having tools similar to his eye implants, but Bukes distinguishes his implants by clarifying they don't connect to his brain. The plane lands in front of an aged facility, its doors unlocking upon recognizing Bukes through its computer system. As Bukes ventures into the facility, he notices the eerie absence of anyone around. This observation is mirrored by the soldiers outside, pondering who will oversee their activities. Upon Bukes' return, he directs the team to proceed. Seizing the moment, Mills inquires if there's any ground support or reconnaissance, to which Bukes replies in the negative. While Mills tries to bridge the gap, Bukes remains unconvinced, their rapport still strained. With the departure of the plane, the team advances through the facility, engaging in playful banter. They eventually emerge into a forested area. Bukes instructs Cutbill to deploy a drone and warns the team against dropping their guard despite the exercise being a simulation. Once the drone is operational, they move out, spreading across the terrain. Mills trails behind, spotting an unidentified drone among the trees. Quickly locating their destination, they maneuver into their respective positions. Drifter, accompanying Mills, asks for her assistance in dealing with his superior. As 3 unfamiliar surveillance drones loom above them, Drifter readies his aim, but Mills intervenes, attempting to access the drones herself. Drifter updates the team about the encounter, and Hackett confirms she's also detected them. Mills explains to Drifter that Harbinger created these new toys, but these particular drones have undergone quantum modifications, operating without human control. Drifter remarks on the drones' awareness of their presence. Meanwhile, Bukes notices the drones but urges the team to continue forward. Soon, their intended practice targets, basic robots, materialize. Bukes swiftly devises an attack strategy, assigning positions to everyone. Mills, once more trailing Drifter, steals a final glance at the unique drone. With a countdown, they launch their assault, employing bullets, rockets, and explosives, a routine task for seasoned soldiers like them. As the peculiar drones observe and record their tactics, Mills decides to trail one deeper into the forest, where she encounters a more sophisticated unit, an SAR. While she isn't surprised by its presence, she's startled to find blood on its head. Her inability to access it adds to her unease. she manages to glimpse and download footage from the robot, revealing disturbing images of it engaging in face-to-face combat, shooting individuals. Overwhelmed, she closes her eyes to process the disturbing information, and upon reopening them, the SAR has vanished. A message arrives from their captain, signaling the end of the day's activities and the need to set up camp. As night falls, the team gathers, swapping war stories and camaraderie. However, Mills sits apart from the group. Drifter finds himself drawn to observing her, leading to teasing from the others, who remind him that she's not human. They discuss the simplicity of their targets and the basic technology involved. Meanwhile, Mills delves into the acquired footage. Drifter approaches her, sitting beside her, and inquires about her earlier excursion. She cryptically mentions she had to explore the area. Drifter inquires about communications, but like the rest of the team, Mills is still unable to establish contact. Pondering why Bukes hasn't approached him directly, Mills speculates that maybe Bukes simply chooses not to like her. She reflects on the unfortunate connection between Bukes' killing record and his reluctance to warm up to her. Drifter argues that those kill figures lack context, contributing to Bukes' hesitation. Seizing the moment, Drifter probes into the story behind Mills getting chipped. She reveals that it happened when she was 11, and without the chip, she faced paralysis. Harbinger sponsored the procedure, curing her. Shortly after, Drifter returns to camp, finding Bukes watching Mills. He questions Drifter about any revelations from Mills, and Drifter relays her explanation of being blocked off without knowing why. Drifter believes her, but Bukes remains skeptical, sensing something amiss with both the training and Mills. As the team prepares for the night, Mills detects a cluster of drones in the forest. When she goes to sleep, the unsettling footage from the SAR replays in her eyes once again. Loftus, stationed for guard duty, confronts a drone, commanding it to leave. Just as it complies, he hears a disturbance and illuminates the area with his gun's light, only to discover the SAR closing in. Loftus fires at the robot, but the scene abruptly shifts back to the camp, where Mills wakes to the sound of the team discussing unexpected gunshots. Goodwin informs Bukes that he spotted Loftus before he vanished, leading the team to begin a search through the forest. As they scour the area, they stumble upon a disturbing clue: bloodstains on the grass. Their search takes a grim turn when they discover Loftus's body, violently positioned against a tree. Cutbill, distraught at the sight of his fallen comrade, urges the team to leave, but the superiors command silence as they assume defensive positions, bracing for potential danger. Mills directs their attention to the fact they're standing in the area where their targets were located the previous day. A drone briefly hovers over them, swiftly departing before Hackett is fatally shot. As the robots converge on the unit's previous positions, Bukes recognizes the situation. He and Drifter swiftly deploy smoke grenades, enveloping the area in a dense fog. Amidst the chaos of gunfire between robots and soldiers, the unit maneuvers, using the cover to their advantage. Bukes manages to close in on the robots, but they inexplicably retreat and vanish upon seeing him, leaving him perplexed. In the midst of this, Cutbill, separated from the team, attempts to establish contact, but fails. Drones hover near him momentarily before departing, only for an SAR to emerge and fatally attack him. Meanwhile, back with the team, Drifter queries Bukes about his observations. Bukes details encountering more advanced robots than those encountered the previous day, noting their exceptional armor that withstood his gunfire without a scratch. Fueled by the loss of his men, Bukes demands answers from Mills, insisting she divulge any knowledge and deactivate the robots. Mills admits her inability to shut down the robots due to a programming flaw, brainstorming possible solutions. Bukes grows more frustrated, holding her accountable, but Drifter steps in, defending Mills by attributing the error to a programmer's mistake. Bukes dismisses the notion, emphasizing the importance of efficiency without room for mistakes. Robinson returns, having searched for Cutbill and only finding his helmet. The team resumes their search for Cutbill, moving through the forest. Drifter highlights Mills's value, explaining her ability to perceive things beyond their reach. Bukes, concerned that her vision exposes their own presence, questions the tactical risk. However, Drifter asserts the necessity of using all available resources, despite the potential risk of exposure. Bukes remains fixated on the previous attack, pondering why the robots allowed them to proceed. He suspects it might relate to Mills's presence. Mills interrupts, directing the team's attention to a distressing discovery: a large number of dead animals strewn across the area, indicating that the robots have been using them for target practice, similar to Loftus. Amidst the chaos, Mills alerts the team about being tracked from the ridge, prompting another wave of robots to appear. The team engages in a rapid exchange of gunfire before fleeing. In a critical moment, a shot heads towards Mills, but Bukes shoves her aside, resulting in their separation from the group. The impact causes Mills to collide with a tree and lose consciousness. Drifter attempts to establish contact with Bukes and Mills, but his efforts prove futile. He instructs Goodwin and Robinson to continue on without them as night descends. Bukes, struggling but determined, carries Mills back to the facility's entrance and eventually manages to communicate with Drifter. After exchanging their respective situations, Bukes advises against immediate rendezvous due to the darkness and the risk of detection by the robots, opting to regroup at dawn instead. Hours pass before a drone approaches Bukes, swiftly departing, but not before Bukes takes cover with Mills as an SAR approaches. The robot leans in, compelling Mills to open her eyes, establishing a connection before departing. Morning arrives, and Mills finally regains consciousness. As Mills awakens after 9 hours, Bukes explains he stayed because he didn't know what else to do. When he recounts the events of the previous night, Mills insists they need to find that specific robot, though she struggles to explain why. Bukes, insistent on action, commands her to figure it out before declaring they're departing. Reuniting with the remaining soldiers, Drifter reports that despite being vulnerable, they weren't tracked by the robots, who were omnipresent through the night. Mills confirms the path ahead appears clear, with all signals indicating the threat behind them. Their plan crystallizes, returning to the drop point and waiting for extraction. Bukes, aware that only Mills can open the door, plans to escort her while the others cover their retreat. The team navigates the route without issue until they reach the door. Despite Bukes' attempts, the door's computer fails to recognize him, and surveillance drones make an ominous appearance. Taking charge, Mills initiates hacking the door when suddenly, smoke grenades are launched, obscuring visibility. The robots mimic the team's tactics, plunging Bukes into darkness and confusion. The situation escalates rapidly, as the robots engage in a relentless assault, forcing the soldiers to move quickly. Drifter sustains a leg injury just as Mills successfully opens the door. Amidst heavy gunfire, the team seeks cover. Determined to aid his comrades, Bukes decides to assist them despite the danger. As they struggle to advance, Drifter sacrifices himself, staying back to provide cover fire. Despite being wounded, he continues, only to be targeted and pinned down by the SAR. Bukes and Mills both notice this and rush back to rescue him. However, Mills, unable to deactivate the robots, attempts to prevent further violence, pleading with the soldiers not to shoot. Faced with the impending threat of the SAR, Bukes is left with a harrowing decision. Unable to watch Drifter endure torture, Bukes takes a difficult but merciful action, ending Drifter's suffering with a decisive shot. Mills grieves the loss of her friend, crying out in anguish. Bukes, grabbing her, pulls her along as they desperately re-enter the facility. Mills confronts Bukes, convinced she could have saved Drifter, claiming responsibility for creating the robots. This revelation leaves the soldiers on edge, prompting them to demand answers at gunpoint. Mills admits to her involvement, explaining her role in programming and designing the prototypes. However, she acknowledges that the codes have evolved beyond her control, now advanced beyond comprehension. She expresses a hope to understand and control the situation, but Bukes dismisses it as too late. When pressed about the robot's purpose, Mills reveals a grim truth. They are designed as replacements for human soldiers, intended to prevent further loss of life by creating machines that learn and evolve, much like humans. The soldiers react with horror and anger, blaming her for their fallen comrades. Feeling the weight of their accusation, Mills breaks down in tears as Bukes exits the room. As the robots cut through the main door, urgency sets in, forcing them to seek a more defensible position. Mills manages to open a door leading to the personnel area and illuminates the space, only to make a chilling discovery: a unit of SAR models. As Bukes and the soldiers prepare to slow down the approaching robots, they discover the grim sight of deceased facility employees behind another door. Mills, attempting to establish communication with the outside world, interfaces with the local system to no avail. Recognizing the strategic advantage of their current position, Bukes suggests using it as a bottleneck to impede the robot's progress. Meanwhile, Mills takes a bold step, leaving the room and locking the door behind her, separating herself from the soldiers. Knowing the SAR units are powered and interconnected, Mills activates one, hoping to use it to communicate with the others. As the robot comes online, Mills enables its speech program, initiating a dialogue. She attempts to countermand its orders to engage in the human combat program, but encounters an obstacle. It cannot comply due to a human error. The robot explains that the training subjects, presumably the soldiers, aren't performing as anticipated, necessitating the identification of new, motivated targets. As Mills interacts with the Guardian SAR, she realizes that it was this particular unit that brought the Marines to the facility. her attempts to access the other units fail, and as the Guardian SAR initiates the activation of the remaining robots, the soldiers implore Mills to open the door for their escape. Unyielding, Mills is determined to continue her efforts. With the external robots breaching the facility, Mills finds herself surrounded. However, Robinson intervenes, forcibly dragging her inside and sealing the door just in time. The Guardian SAR and the other robots immediately begin cutting through this new door. Returning to the bottleneck room, the soldiers finish setting up the charges. The robots break in, leaving them with little time to escape before the explosion engulfs the area, impacting both the soldiers and the robots. Amid the chaos, Mills experiences another electromagnetic disturbance. Realizing the robots are equipped with EMP grenades, they manage to escape outside, discovering additional buildings, training equipment, and more bodies strewn across the grounds. As the soldiers survey the ruins, Mills ventures into a tunnel, retrieving an EMP grenade from a fallen robot. Back with the team, while they prepare for a defensive stand, Mills reviews footage of her fallen comrades, evoking both sorrow and a resolute determination to use the grenade against the robots. While the soldiers ready themselves for an impending siege, Bukes discovers the EMP grenade in Mills' possession. She explains its potential to deactivate the SAR units, but highlights its limited range, necessitating a detonator. Mills clarifies that the robots have intentionally herded them to this location for further practice, and only the EMP can stop them. Acknowledging the risks, Bukes expresses concern that the explosion might endanger Mills. However, she believes it's their sole recourse. The team waits through the night, bracing for the inevitable robot assault, which only arrives as morning breaks. Robinson assumes the role of drawing the robots in as the sharpshooter, while Goodwin remains concealed, equipped with the detonators. As the robot army enters the city, Robinson and Burks fire their guns at them. Mills, using her skills, directs Goodwin on when to set off hidden bombs, which take down many robots. She keeps guiding Robinson and Burks, warning them about enemy attacks, but when Goodwin sets off another bomb, it alerts the drones to his location, forcing him to move from his hiding place. Robinson shields Burks as he rushes to aid Goodwin, who's being chased by a dangerous robot. He grabs Goodwin, and they manage to find safety, but Robinson sacrifices himself to protect them. After a brief pause, Goodwin realizes he's dropped the device needed to activate the bombs. Despite heavy enemy fire, Bukes ventures out to find it, only to discover Mills already reaching for it amid the approaching robots. Worried for her safety, Bukes urges Mills to flee to avoid the EMP blast, but Mills refuses to leave. In a tense moment, a robot aims at Mills, and Bukes shields her, giving her the chance to set off the EMP grenade before she's hit. In a moment of apparent victory, all the robots, including Mills, appear to have shut down due to the EMP blast. However, the SAR unexpectedly reactivates and pursues them. Bukes pulls Mills to safety inside a building, engaging the robot in a firefight on the stairs. Meanwhile, Mills crawls toward the room where Robinson's body lies. The robot, unable to execute Bukes due to conflicting orders and a need for more data, turns its attention to Mills. Despite being unable to identify her, the SAR is on the verge of killing Mills. In a desperate move, she activates Robinson's rifle and shoots the SAR down. As the robot connects to Mills, it downloads information into her brain before finally deactivating. The movie concludes with transport arriving to extract Bukes, Goodwin, and Mills. As they board the plane, Mills's eyes open, revealing that the SAR's mission protocol has taken control, leaving the audience with a sense of uncertainty about what comes next. Thanks for watching, guys.